Well, and if I can make a little side comment about the, we've heard over and over and over, these 400 patients that are on Epidiolex. When you get a DA license and get involved in that GW Pharma study, you're given a limit of patients that you're on. I know my sister state of Alabama had 100 patients approved, 50 kids, 50 adults, and that's their limit. The problem with Epidiolex, as I see it, is that we have two separate patient populations in America right now. We have the Epidiolex gang that is getting 98% CBD. So Epidiolex is very refined, it's very secure, it's very quality controlled, it's the same thing every time. The dosing is standard, and they're doing it the right way. Small numbers, but the right way, and in fairness, they are a drug company. They get to set how much product they're basically giving away at this point. The second population is the average American that doesn't live near an Epidiolex site. So those are families who are getting their CBD in the market, we'll say. And one of the things that we're learning from those families who deserve so much praise and are so intrepid in doing this is that isolated CBD may not be the gold standard. We may need a little bit of THC in there to make those receptors fire away. And so some families say, when we go pure CBD, when we go into the 90, 95, 98% CBD, it doesn't work as well as if we've got just a little touch of CBD because they interact with the receptors differently. So let's say Epidiolex comes out a year from now and says, this is a new FDA-approved marketed drug with standard doses that is pure CBD. We may have missed an opportunity to develop something better that works on that receptor a little differently because we didn't research it.
More research, more drug companies interested, and we have to remove those barriers to that very important research because I don't want to be a parent who doesn't know what I'm getting in the mail. I don't want to be a parent who doesn't know what the right dose is. But these barriers are ones that are created by the federal government, and we are standing in the way of children and patients getting medicine across this country, and we have to fix it. And small measures is not going to do it. We have to do it properly, accurately, and effectively so it's efficient. And I look forward to your letter to Senator Feinstein.
If I can just say...
That's my time.
Booker.
Sorry.
Senator Booker. You talk about how fortunate patients that might live around such a dispensary. Mm-hmm. And I really, your Dr. Minham, your testimony really touched me. But I really appreciated the fact that you said that you could afford it. And there's incredible amounts of family that aren't lucky. Mm-hmm. Aren't right around those folks making $20,000 a year, $30,000 a year, who have suffering children. And so I'm happy that the first panel, we established the fact that there is a chokehold, years waiting, reputable researchers can't get what they need. You're an example of that. The small paucity of the amount that you're given to research, that we have a serious rehab that we need to do in that system. But I'm still tripping, and I know that Senator Feinstein rightfully asked to put this in writing, and I see, Dr. Sabet, you can barely contain yourself with your finger on the microphone. What is the difference between Schedule I and Schedule II in your mind?
Well, it's actually a very technical difference and a very minor difference, and it's not going to make the difference for research. I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, Schedule II...
Hold on, stop. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you a lot because I have a little time.
All right.
Dr. Ingram just said it makes a big difference. His ability to access Schedule II drugs. Dr. Ingram, is that true? Difference in being able to access Schedule II drugs for research versus Schedule I?
Well, we already have Schedule II.
Right.
We're
It's
already
easier to get, easier to access.
We have it as part of our practice.
Right. So with that, I've heard testimony from a doctor, a researcher, that says Schedule II is easier to access.
Here's the thing. Schedule II is absolutely easier to research, but the issue is it doesn't solve the problem that you want of getting the drugs to folks now.
Already concentrated on that.
And it does not allow you to prescribe it. Right now, we have a Schedule I drug that is the date rape drug, Rohypnol, GHB. We have a Schedule IV that is exactly that Schedule I called Xyrem that's used for narcolepsy. There are ways where marijuana does not meet the definition of Schedule II, and you can create those products, and we should do that.
Clearly, Schedule II is easier to access. Clearly, you can do research on it. Clearly, you have drug companies, as Senator Gillibrand just said.
It's a small difference.
Well, then why are you resisting that difference then?
Because we should spend our time doing things that are going to help families now and help researchers now, which are the things that I mentioned about multiple sites.
You're saying to me, sir, stop.
And it's a red herring by the legalization movement. Who wrote the CARES Act?
Excuse me. Clearly, it's optics that you're concerned with. Clearly, this makes a difference, and you're saying this, and you could put your rest of your answers in writing, but clearly, the downside of this, the danger of this, is not that families will be hurt. You're just saying that they will not be helped enough. And so we have not just CBD, as you just admitted, it's an entire marijuana plant that has a lot of other aspects that could potentially be helpful. That right now we have a choke point on the source, and the researchers unable to get it. And a schedule change may not have the grand difference that people want, but it has a difference in the ability for research to being done. Now, the Senator Gillibrand went through the different diseases and the different challenges we have from our military veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress, from people with cancers and glaucomas and other challenges who can't even get to the point of being in trials, not just for CBD, but for other elements as well. And so, just one more time, Dr. Ingham, you're telling me that you agree that their medical value does exist in the overall study of this plant and its ability to help sick Americans.
Of course. We already use Marinol in our cancer patients every day. I mean, and if we removed plant-based abusive potentials from the market, then you're talking about removing a lot of our current prescription medications. The key for us is we have Americans who are using this already every day in a geographically segregated way, some with tremendous success, and we want to understand that because we want to make that widespread. We want to make it safe, and we want to make it widespread.
And you're a researcher who is doing research right now on Schedule II drugs.
I prescribe Schedule II drugs every day.
Right, and so the idea that a Schedule I drug has no medical application whatsoever, while you're telling me in your testimony that there are potential medical applications, clearly shows that this does not qualify for what a Schedule I drug says it is.
I think marijuana needs significantly more research, and CBD in particular needs significantly more research for us to be able to use it in a novel and safe way.
Dr. Sabet, if you felt like you didn't get heard, I'll give you a little bit of time, and then we're going to adjourn.
Well, I appreciate it. I agree with everything that Dr. Ingram said. We absolutely need to expand the sites and not have it be where you happen to live. And so we should do that. I don't think we should conflate issues of banking and even issues of PTSD in veterans when every major mental health organization and the American Psychiatric Association opposes the use of THC, high THC marijuana, let alone smoked marijuana, which we don't smoke any medicine, because of the mental long-term psychiatric illness that could happen, even if in the short term there's some self-medication going on. Absolutely, there are people in desperately ill situations that should be enrolled in trials so we can say definitively. And right now there are studies going on that I support, looking into some of these conditions. So I think we're all on the same page that we want to, and I also think we're on the same page on the other components of marijuana. Senator Booker, you are right. There are other components in the marijuana plant that can be useful. We all should study them, and we shouldn't be afraid of THC. I mean, just because it gets you high, well, absolutely, so does OxyContin and other things. That doesn't, just because something gets you high doesn't mean it's not a good medication. A lot of pain analgesics, that's what they do. So we all are on the same page of doing the research responsibly. What we don't like, and the reason why, and I'll just finish with this, the reason why I am joined by 4 major medical associations with expressing major concerns over the CARES Act, mainly because of the PTSD, mainly because of the what it would do to CBD. In other words, it would allow me to claim that this is CBD. We are concerned about that, and we think we all want the same end goal. Absolutely. We want parents to get a standardized medication, and we want to be able to work together, and we want to work with you to make it better for parents and researchers to be able to access this for the potential medical application.
I've got some articles I'm going to put in the record here at this point. And I thank all of you for your testimony, and I thank all my colleagues for cooperating. A meeting adjourned.
I'd like to put one in this one this morning.